Hi guys, I am back and I wanted to share with you a semi-quick little project that I saw Carol Laws do and something very similar. So if you want to, you can check her video out. I will try my best to remember to link it in the description in this video. But Carol Laws has a tutorial on how she made this kind of tag accordion kind of flip mini journal. And I thought it'd be super cute. And I wanted to use the tags from Love Junk Journals. This is one of her Christmas collections. I'm not sure if it was new last year, but I definitely got it last year. And then I'm also using papers from Roxy Creations. So these papers, this one and this red one, are both from Roxy Creations. So is this one as well. And then these are all pages from the Love Junk Journals tag set. So this is what I'm going to be using for the backing of each of the tags. And then I'm going to be using these cute images for the actual tags. And then I have fabric here, these fabric strips, and this is going to be the hinge of the journal. And so I have the cute snowflake pattern on the one side and then just some plain fabric on the other side. And so what I'm going to be ending up doing with these is I'm going to sandwich these two pages, both the pretty side and the more plain side, or the decorative side, I should say, and the plain side. And I'm going to sandwich that with this particular fabric, and then this is going to be the hinges. And then each of the pages will have either some journal pages, so I'm going to have some journal pages within them, or they're going to have little tucks for little tags and things like that, so tucks and pockets. So I'm going to probably speed you up here. I'll probably end up doing a little bit of a voiceover for this project and show you how I put this all together. So I will be back and I'll show you how to assemble this.
All right, so I am back and now I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to put all these tags into an album. First, I am going to ink around the edges of all these papers, and I will spare you watching that entire process and skip over to the completed inked tags. And so I was mentioning these strips before. It is just some fabric that I have backed to another piece of neutral kind of beigey fabric, and I'm going to be gluing each one of these tags to the fabric strips and leaving just a little bit of a space between the two tags so that the album can fold nicely and not crash into each other, as well as allow me to add little mini kind of journals in between each of the sections that we'll show in a later video. So what I'm doing now is just adding some art glitter glue to the one side of the tag that I showed on the first tag, and then I am now taking the backing of the tag and adding art glitter glue to the other side. And then I almost glue this down, but I want to make sure that I put the fabric strips between both sides or both edges of the tag. And that's kind of how it's going to look there. And I'm just going to keep alternating that. And you do see that I do the snowflakes up on one side and down on the other side, and that's because this will be an accordion fold. And by doing that, you will see all the snowflakes on the one edge when you fold it, and then if you turn it to the other side, you'll see the tan on the other side. And then that way, it's consistent on the left and then right side of the little booklet once it's all folded. So now I'm just going to glue down all of these various tags. I am going to alternate between the more decorative tag, which is kind of like the one with the picture on it, with the more kind of, I don't know, neutral or tone on tone tags. So like you can see there on the left-hand side, I have the the green and cream colored tag. And then on the right, I have the tag that has more of the kind of design on it. So I'm just going to go back and forth doing that through the whole booklet. And altogether, I'm going to have 6 panels that are going to be back to back. And I use this art glitter glue. It works really well. I do tend to use fabric tack most of the time when I am doing gluing with fabric, but the art glitter glue does a really good job. And I was going to sew around this anyway, so I wasn't super worried about it sticking. But I think the art glitter glue probably would have stuck just fine if I decided not to stitch around it. So it's kind of up to you on whether you want to do some sewing if you have a sewing machine, or if you prefer just to glue it and keep it as is. That's kind of a personal preference, whatever makes the most sense. And you can see I am putting a decent amount of glue on the back of these. I could have used a glue stick as well, but because I wanted to make sure that it stuck to the fabric strips pretty well, I ended up just using the art glitter glue on the whole entire thing. And again, because I'm sewing it, it really doesn't matter that I don't have glue literally on every square inch of the back of the tag when I glue it on. So this is going to just keep going on until I get all of the pieces glued down. And I really like this kit. I think I mentioned it earlier, but these tags are from Tracy Fox. And then the one that has the red star and the blue snowflake, that is also from the Tracy Fox kit. And then the ones that look kind of more like, I don't know if it's like wallpaper damask, that kind of look to it, the one that I'm working on right now, those are all from Roxy Creations. And I believe those were actually just paper and I trimmed them out to be the same size and shape as the Tracy Fox tags. So this process is pretty easy. Just keep going through, gluing one and leaving the little space. And it's probably like maybe an eighth of an inch space, maybe something like that. Again, I wanted to accommodate both the little journal that I'm going to add in and just folding the book. I think if I didn't add the journal, you probably didn't need to leave quite as much space, but I think it folds very nicely and lays very flat when it's all done by leaving about that amount of space that I'm showing. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I think if you look, you can see that I'm not exactly straight on every single one of them, but I just did my best to try to make it as straight as possible. And I try to match these tags up as well as possible too, back to back, but I'm not sure if it's in this video or a later video. I do have to do a little inking on the edges because some of the white is showing through, and actually you can see it. The tag to the left of the blue snowflake one, if you can kind of see after my hand moves, you can kind of see a little bit of a white edge, and that's just because the tags didn't line up exactly, and that's fine. I think on that one I may have trimmed it down a little bit, but then added the inking, which kind of camouflaged the fact that it wasn't quite lined up because you didn't see the white paper as much. And really, no one's going to notice it except for you. But again, this is a handmade project. And of course, you're going to have times when things aren't going to be exactly aligned, and that's just fine. So now I'm going to close up my glue, and then I'm going to show you what this kind of looks like as it folds up. Or actually, no, sorry. I'm going to snip off some of this edging. I made these strips a little bit longer than I needed to on purpose because I wanted to make sure I had adequate amount of fabric, even though I could measure it and it would have been fine. I just thought it was easier to make them longer and then snip some off rather than not having enough in the first place. And after I snip these off, I will try to fray the edges a bit because the top was, the everything was torn, so I just pulled or ripped the fabric instead of cutting it straight with the scissors. And so when I get done with the inking that I was showing you earlier, or talking about earlier, I'll kind of fray the edges a little bit to mimic the top part of the fabric strip as well. And this, so right now I'm just doing is cleaning up some of this so you don't notice those edges very much. And I think that ends up making a little bit of a difference and not being so obvious. And then this is the other one that I did right before this. So these are the same tags and everything. I just kind of changed the order up, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to camouflage some of the white edges, trim down the excess fabric strips, and then these will pretty much be done as far as the main assembly. And then after I do this, then I will do all the stitching around the entire album. And each one of them will be stitched individually. So just cleaning up the edges and stuff, inking that all up. And there I'm fraying the edges to make it a little better. And I'm going to be back here in just a second with real-time talking here.
I ended up doing two of them. So you can see here, they're the exact same tags, but I just did them in a little bit different order. This one is going to have the cardinal on the front, and it's just going to accordion fold like this. And you can see the stitching that I did all the way around all the edges. So that one's going to be there. And they still are kind of bulky, so I'm going to push that down. And then this one is going to have this little cute bird here, and it's just going to accordion the same way. Again, so you have the fabric edges, and then, yeah, that's how it looks when we first get it sewn down. And then what I'm going to do next is I am going to put some various pockets and things in there, and then also cut my paper for the signatures that I'm going to add. So I think I'm going to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 signatures, maybe. I'm going to see how much that bulks it up. I'm probably going to only put about 3 small pages in each signature. So I'm going to kind of pull some paper out and play with that a little bit and see what seems to make the most sense as far as number of pages, and I'll be back. All right, I decided to go with 4 pages each. So I did 1, 2, 3, and then this little guy. All of them have one piece of coffee dyed paper or tea dyed paper. The, what's this called? I'm going blank on that. This paper, I have this music sheet, and then I have the smaller piece of this paper. So all the signatures have that, and they have different combinations of like in the order that they're in. And so that is how each one of these goes. So you can see here, they are really fitting nicely. I think I made enough spine space so that everything fits really nice in here. Everything should tuck in and nothing should be sticking out the edges once I put everything in the books. But I really like how these turned out as far as the thickness of them. I will be adding pockets and things like that on each or some of these different tags, but I'm going to be doing that after this part here. I was deciding on whether I should add a little bit more variety to these pages because they are kind of all the same throughout the entire book. So I may end up swapping out a few pages for some paper that I have. I do have some different pieces of scrap paper that I might add into the signatures instead of having them all the same. I haven't quite decided. I'm going to go through my stash and just kind of look to see what my options are. And so I might use some of these other items as well. So that's going to kind of be something I'm going to play it by ear. So I will be back in a little while to kind of show you what I ended up deciding as far as adding in a little bit more sprinkles of the different papers.
Okay, so now I am going to take the other papers that I had mentioned and I'm going to start decorating and making pockets on each of these tags. That is where I'm going to be adding later on additional tags into each of these pockets and tucks so that there's even more journaling space. So even though this is a very small little album, it is going to have quite a bit of space for journaling, either on the tags or the little mini journals that I add into each of the sections. So for this first one, I'm just going to be taking this yellow straw paper and I'm going to be trimming it down and I'm going to also be gluing it on to some of the printable paper. And I am also going to be using a punch to scallop the edge of this yellow paper. I think it just makes a little bit more fancy and it just adds a little more texture and dimension to the pocket. So I'm pulling out my little scallop punch here. This is just like I think it was a Stampin' Up / EK Success punch that I have had in my stash for quite some time. Punching that out, and then I just thought it looked a little bit too plain, so on the bottom of that, I am going to add a little strip of that printable paper. I thought this one was pretty. It was a nice contrast between the red paper with the white stars. I'm using a white paper with red kind of like florally kind of greenery pieces. I'm just going to trim that to fit. And I'm going to rip it and add a little ink to it, again, just to add some extra texture and dimension. I'm using my Vintage Photo Distress ink. That's probably my favorite distress ink that I use for most of my projects. I have some other ones, but it just seems to be my go-to. Now I'm going to glue that little pocket down, and then that will be ready for a tag. I end up trimming that paper just a little bit too long, so I will end up trimming off the bottom of that here in just a minute. After this, I will move on to another section of the album and add another pocket or tuck. And I don't end up showing all the little tucks and spots that I actually make in this album just to kind of keep this video a little shorter. But as I show you the album as I'm finishing it, you will get to see all the different things that I did add to this album. So now I'm just trimming out another piece. I'm going to add like a little corner flip here. For this one, I am going to make the corner, but I'm going to fold this kind of in this diagonal because I wanted to make it like a little flip out. So you can tuck something into the one side, but then also flip it up and add a little bit extra journaling. I did not like the white though. I wanted to add a little bit more texture and dimension to that. So I am pulling out this really cute snowflake stencil, and I'm going to use that same distress ink that I've been using and just add a little bit to this one. I think I did a little bit too heavy in that one corner, but it ends up working out. I just don't use quite as much on the rest of it, and I think it ends up working out just fine, so no big deal. And I just really like how that adds some interest to that and takes away some of that white space that was just, it was very glaring white. And then I'm going to glue down just the one triangle part. And then the rest of it will be like a little tuck. So you'll see here, I'm just going to put the glue on the edge of the little tuck piece. And that'll be another perfect place for a tag that I'm going to be making. And later on, I think I show it, I don't believe I show it here, I am going to make a little tuck spot. So the corner of that flip does have a place to tuck in. It ended up crashing into the tag on the right of it. And I just didn't really like how that looked, and it was just kind of messing it up. So I ended up putting a little bitty corner piece to tuck the corner of that red paper into it, and then it keeps it safer. And like I said, that'll be shown on another part of the video. So this one here, this is where the video kind of ends. I am just going to make a tuck spot here using some of these printables from Tracy Fox again. These match the same digital collection that I got from, or got the tags from. And I'm going to end up putting like a little belly band there, gluing that down. I do back this little piece of paper because it's just regular copy paper, and I'll trim that out. And you'll see kind of what it looks like here on the next video. So really, that's pretty much it. I want to thank you guys for joining me. Hopefully you're enjoying this little video. I will have 3 more parts in this series, and I will be back again soon. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, I'd love to have you as a subscriber. Talk to you guys later, and hope you're having a happy holiday season. Bye, everybody.